everybody. Welcome back.
To the High Function Podcast.
Yeah, to the High Function Podcast. I'm Max.
I'm Justin. Let's start this intro before we get going.
Yeah, we're doing episode number 17 today. Another installment of the segment that, well, I guess we didn't really talk about it, but how do you feel about Ye Old Book Review?
Ye Old Book Review?
Yeah.
I'm down. That
All
sounds
right,
good.
so we're doing another segment of Ye Old Book Review. And this week we're going to talk about the book that I finally finished, called Antifragile. We'll get into that a little bit more here in a minute. Before we hit record, we started talking about some of the current events going on at the moment, and we decided that we're just going to pause our conversation for the moment and then pick it up with you guys because we feel like you should be included. And man, I don't know if it's just me or does it look to you guys like I'm never in the fucking, can we not get this bitch centered or what?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I hugged the table a little bit more.
I don't know. One of these days, we're going to have a camera for each one of us.
Yeah, there we go. So we won't have this problem.
Yeah, and we'll just that'll be hey, I'm talking, you're talking.
Switch back
and
forth.
then we'll have 3 cameras total. That's when we're going to be really professional.
Why would we have 3 cameras?
So we have one there doing what this one's doing right now.
And then one for both of us.
And then one for both of us. So that when we go on, our long monologues,
it can switch back and forth.
yeah, it can just be headshot. And then you can see all the, subtle body language cues that I give off with my face.
Yeah, there we go.
Anyways, so before we started recording, we were talking about I'd be willing to bet that probably most dudes our age know who Yanette Garcia is. If they don't know who she is, they've probably seen her at some point or another.
If they don't know her by name, they probably have seen her.
Recognize her by booty.
Yeah. For instance, I didn't know who you were just talking about, but I know who she is.
Okay. So for everybody else that doesn't know, Yanette Garcia is a solid 10 weather girl in Mexico and athletic chick. She's smoking. She's been dating this dude for the last couple years.
Yeah,
that is
professional gamer.
Yeah, he's a professional Call of Duty player, and the guy broke up with her this week sometime, I guess, and experienced a bunch of backlash from all kinds of people because he broke up with her to play video games, which is the simplified version of the story.
Yeah. But
it was just funny because number one, I'm not what's his name, Censor or something like that, Phase Censor. I think his real name's Doug. I'm not Doug.
Right.
But without knowing Doug, and if Doug's just wading through 10s everywhere he goes, I don't think he is, but who knows? That's not an easy decision to come to be like, you know what? I'm just
gonna break up with this chick.
I'm done. And that may seem shallow to just be like, you don't want to break up with a chick because she's smoking hot, but it's definitely a factor.
It's a bonus.
What am I gonna do from here?
Yeah.
So he broke up with her. I think, I don't know. Disclaimer: I didn't do a whole lot of research on this.
That's just what we heard.
Yeah, this is just hearsay and our thoughts on the situation. But it was funny to me because people think that he's just breaking up with her to play video games, and that video games can't trump personal relationships and shit like that, which is a true statement. But
unless you're making money off of playing video games.
Yeah, this right here, there's no difference between this is a dude that literally just chose his career
over a chick,
which happens
a lot.
Yeah. Whether or not it's good or bad, it's not for either one of us to say. But if that dude wants to focus on his career respect.
Good for him. Yeah, good for him.
Like, if both of them made a mutual decision that they wanted to do that, because from what I understand, that chick lives in Mexico City, and he does not live in Mexico City. So,
Yeah, that's long distance.
That's got to be hard.
Yeah, she's getting dick pics like crazy in her Instagram.
I don't know how. Like, if I was that chick, like if I was one of those chicks, I don't know if I'd even check my DMs anymore.
Yeah, I bet you they probably don't check any DMs from dudes and only check DMs from other chicks.
Or they probably only open DMs from people that, I don't know if when you DM somebody on Instagram, if like it comes with their little check mark.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Because I'd be willing to bet that a good percentage of people with check marks aren't going to send dick pics.
Yeah, probably not.
Some will, but probably not most. So...
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just made me laugh. Like, why do people feel the need to just be involved in people's lives like that? Like, who the fuck cares that they broke up?
Yeah, right. That's not our problem. Not even our. Yeah, that's that ties into the book that I'm reading right now.
Oh yeah, which one you bought? Was it The Subtle Art?
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
I was talking to my cousin that you still work with, and I think he read that book because he said that he liked it. It was either that cousin or my other cousin that's just a couple years older than the other one. But either way, I'm excited for you to read that book.
I'm almost done now.
Jeez, oh Pete's. Dude, I haven't even started my other book yet, and it's another 26-hour book.
That's the reason why.
I know. I don't know what to do.
I wouldn't want to start another 26-hour book either. It's a long-ass time.
It's going to be a good one, though.
That's like a month of me driving back and forth to work.
Yeah. Well, it's going to tell you and I how to take over the world.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's that fucking 48 laws of power.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So we can exert our patriarchal dominance. Yeah, awesomeness is a better word than dominance. See, we're already on the path.
Path of power.
Yeah. So how does it tie in with people butting into people's lives?
Basically, in the book of Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, he says the reason why people care about other people's lives so much is because they don't have enough going on in their own lives to make up for the fact that they because they have to give a fuck about something. So they give a fuck about
the most retarded shit.
Yeah, fucking celebrities, whatever. Like anything other than that, really
something that would help them.
Yeah, that they should give a fuck about.
Well, and see, that's so true. And it's like I feel the people that are upset about it are the people that aren't dating a Yannette Garcia.
Yeah, right.
They're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, I'd give my left nut to sleep with that chick once. And they're like, and you're just fucking tossing her off. Like, what the fuck? It's not his problem.
No, that's yours. That's your problem that you would give your left nut to fuck her.
I'd be willing to bet that she wouldn't find that attractive either.
No, probably not. A little bit of obsessive.
Needy much?
Yeah. Obsessive. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. Moral of the story is
don't give your left nut to fuck some chick.
Yeah. And don't get all caught up on the dudes that other chicks or the chicks that other dudes are banging or not banging or choosing not to bang.
Really? Just
or vice versa. Don't get mad at girls that are with fucking Cristiano Ronaldo or whoever the fuck.
Yeah. Who cares?
Make your life better, and you will bring people into your life like that. Like, you think when that dude started playing Call of Duty, he was like, dude, I'm gonna score like
the hottest weather chick.
Yeah, like perfect 10. It's gonna be great. No. He just fucking was like, I'm good at playing Call of Duty. I'm going to play Call of Duty, follow my dream, fucking do the things that I need to do, like be determined, focus on my success. That's the shit that brought him the girl in the first place.
Yeah.
And now he's had the girl for a little bit, and for whatever reason in his life, he's decided that his career needs to go farther.
Yeah.
So he's going back to the place where he was before the chick even came into the picture.
Yeah.
I got respect for the guy, because if you can walk away from something like that, I guess time will tell whether it'll be a good decision or not, but
Right.
it takes a lot of courage to do something like that.
I agree.
So, especially not knowing what the fuck it's going to entail. Like, this could be the worst decision of my life.
Yep. Who knows?
So,
But he took the chance.
yep. I wish him luck. I'm sure Yannette will have no troubles in her life
Yep.
figuring out what she's going to do next.
Yep.
So, but fuck, I don't even know how. All right. Whew. Transition. All right.
Into your book review.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Ye Old Book Review. This is the second installment of Ye Old Book Review. This week, we're going to talk about, the book was called Antifragile, subtitled Things That Gain from Disorder. And it was by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, who is from Lebanon.
All right. I don't know where that is, but
Lebanon is over by Turkey.
okay.
I'm not sure exactly where it is in relation to Turkey offhand right now. I'm pretty sure it's touching Turkey. But whether it's...
North, south, east, west.
Yeah, I'm not
who
sure.
knows?
But basically, I know we've touched a little bit on it so far in the last two episodes, because this book has been incredibly enlightening. I don't really like to use that word very much, but it's changed the way I've thought about some stuff. And before we started this episode today, I was telling Justin I didn't know exactly how I was going to approach it, because there's so much information in it from front to back that I could literally just read the book, to you guys to communicate all the information, but that won't work. So I highly, highly, highly recommend going and reading it. It covers everything from like personal finance, medicine, societal issues, like all kinds of shit. The biggest thing, I think, as somebody that has a person battling or had a person battling cancer in my life, that you have to be very careful with doctors, because one of the terms that it introduced to me was this, it's called iatrogenics, which is basically harm caused in the name of doing something good. So there's lots of things, and this isn't anything new to most people, but like doctors and pharmaceutical companies and all, like the whole medical industry isn't in the business of curing people, because that takes money away. But when you say that, most of the time people don't think about the actual things that, I mean, people hear that and they think, oh, I'm just going to be on like diabetes medication for the rest of my life or some shit like that. Not like, no, they actually could be causing more harm than good. One of the things that they talked about was a specific type of spinal surgery that has like a 50-50 rate of success, if not worse, but it gets pushed so much because it's lucrative for the doctors to perform. Like, they make a bunch of money off of it, but the vast majority of people that undergo the procedure end up with bigger issues after the fact. So the biggest takeaway in the medical thing is that if you ask your doctor, don't ask your doctor what you should do. ask your doctor what they would do if they were you, because then you will get, in theory, a better answer. Like you will get the answer that the doctor will, if it's their life on the line, hopefully they will give you
what they would do.
a better answer than just, oh yeah, we're just going to do surgery when surgery isn't necessarily required. One of the things that whole thing touched on was the lack of intervention and how that can be way more beneficial. Or if you remove certain things, like if you start weaning yourself off of certain medications, which this isn't medical advice, please don't
Disclaimer.
do this. But if you start weaning yourself off of medications and stuff like that, and start kind of trying to take inventory of the issues that are going on in your body, because a lot of the medications cause other side effects and shit like that. So if you can start working yourself down to like the actual causes of these issues, because that's the other thing. A lot of people are just taking all these medications and stuff like that to mask smaller problems that they don't want to deal with. And then it just turns into like this bigger compound thing. But one of the things that I found interesting with the lack of intervention, and they have a hard time doing statistics on this because hospitals are pretty much open all the time. Whenever there's a strike at a hospital, it's crazy because they end up all the procedures and shit like that, the surgeries and stuff like that, they all get like canceled except for the most life-threatening ones. And in that time period, a lot of the elective surgeries get canceled and people get better because they don't have the surgery. They don't have the availability to get the surgery. Like things just kind of work themselves out in the meantime. And then when they go back, like when the hospital reopens, more elective surgeries are still canceled. They don't get rescheduled. So like just the fact of the hospital being shut down and them only dealing with the most serious issues, a lot of the other shit works itself out naturally. And that's like the whole message of the book is just don't intervene more than is necessary. Like nature itself, the whole where we live right now is anti-fragile in the sense that it keeps going. Like us humans, we're fragile, but our DNA is anti-fragile because it keeps going from person to person to person to person to person. So, like, if we just kind of sit back and let things go, the natural tendency of things goes towards working out the fragilities and making things more anti-fragile over time. It's really... that's why I said there's so much. Like, the more I'm thinking about it right now, it's just like I've got all this shit just like flooding my brain from all of the stuff that got
said in the book.
Yeah, and it's just like it covers everything. Everything. He talks about fixing the system in America with giant corporations and bailouts and all this other crazy shit that it doesn't really need to happen, but we do it for no other reason than there's lobbyists and a fucking really weird system of shit in Washington.
Afraid of everything crashing.
Right. And that was the reason that they bailed all those banks out in 2008 was because they were worried that the system was going to collapse if those banks went. And I can't remember specifically what he said, but there was a group of people that did the math or whatever to figure it out, and there was really no way that the whole system itself was going to collapse. It just was going to be those huge banks, and it wouldn't have been nice when it happened, but in all honesty, like, things need to be able to die off when they get to a certain point, like if they're unhealthy.
Yeah, it needs to go so other things can build up. Exactly.
And the other side of that is talking about this is really old school, Hammurabi's Law, which was basically the first code of laws that we know of at the moment. Way back, like I don't even know, like probably 4,000 BC or some shit like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Excuse me. Long time ago. But Hammurabi, the code of laws was kind of along the lines of like, if you were, for example, a carpenter and you built a house and the house you built collapsed and killed the person that you built the house for, you would get killed.
Okay.
If you built a house and that person's child died when the house collapsed,
Your child would die.
your child would die. So, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's extremely brutal, and it doesn't have to be that brutal, but the whole point behind it is there was incentives for people to actually have to do things properly or in a way, like there was an accountability. I mean, nobody should ever build a house knowing that it's going to collapse and potentially kill somebody. Same way nobody's going to build a bridge with the idea that the bridge is just going to collapse in a year.
Yeah.
But we have a whole system of corporate America where they're just literally doing all this shit just to get the stockholder shares to go up higher. And then it culminates in this gigantic financial collapse. And none of those dudes go to jail. None of those dudes actually experience anything. In fact, the American taxpayer ends up having to subsidize through the government, by this government giving them all this money. We still paid those people's wages.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
What?
Yep.
I mean, this isn't news to anybody, I'm sure. But it's just an example of, like,
Why?
yeah, I mean, what? Why would it be like that? You know, why do we let it be this way? And that's really the thing. And it's been going on for so long at this point that I don't know where you could even go back to the start of it. I mean, probably in the 1800s sometime when like the iron and the railroad and all that stuff like got big and you had your first
industrial boom.
Yeah, you had your first actual like tycoons or whatever. And that's probably where like the, what do they call that? Lobbying the government started, you know, like, hey, we'll give you $50 million campaign contribution if you run on, you know,
this, and
these
this.
platforms, which is going to benefit our business. Yeah. And the message behind the book isn't that we shouldn't do that. It's that we shouldn't do that to the point where these things are gigantic. Like, the author of that book says that he doesn't trust anybody. He doesn't trust a company that isn't owner operated, because there's no skin in the game at that point for a person.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
There's no repercussions.
Yeah, like the company has nothing. Like, nobody's personal reputation is on the line. Like, there's no sense of honor. There's nothing. Like, it's just
a bunch of CEOs, people that work for the company. Nobody knows about.
Exactly. And the last little bit that I was listening to today before you came over, I was just kind of going over it again. He was talking about advertising and how he doesn't trust any product that has to get advertised for. And if you think about it, all of the best things generally don't have advertising.
Oh, no. They don't need it.
They don't need it.
They don't need it. Simple as that. Like my girlfriend, she works in the movie industry, of course, and she said that most of the time the movies that get like that have a bunch of posters and all that kind of shit are the movies that aren't the greatest. Like they because they want people to go see it, even though it's not that.
Yeah,
great.
they need to make their money back.
Yeah.
Well, the thing with that, the example he used was like Coca-Cola.
Oh yeah.
Coca-Cola is literally just selling people sugar water that destroys their health.
Yeah, but they advertise this shit out of
and
it.
And they advertise it in specific ways to make you feel better about drinking it.
Yeah,
or to be like
happy.
Or a perfect example, cigarettes back, you know, in the 70s and shit like that, or even earlier, like how cool do you look when you smoke cigarettes and shit like that.
Yep.
So, which is interesting because I think about it, and there are definitely products that fall into the category of probably not that great for you that don't get advertised too, or that are unnecessary. But it's something that you should really think about. Like, if this is getting advertised to me, how's it getting marketed to me, and why is it being marketed this way?
Yeah.
But that's why I said you guys need to read this book, because there's just so much in it. It hasn't completely changed the way that I think yet, but it has changed the way that I look at things so much that I'm definitely going to revisit this book. And at some point, we might hit it again in Ye Old Book Review once I have. I was telling my sister about it, and I was just like I was just telling you a little bit ago, I start thinking about it, and all these like ideas and shit like that just start like flowing around in my head. So there's something here, because not everything makes me get that way. So as I work my way through my mind and my thoughts on this, I'm curious to see how it will change and improve my life, because there's just.
I think books do that to you, though. Also, in general, after reading a book, you're like, okay, I can see where this person is coming from.
A good one, yeah.
Yeah. As long as it's just shit, and then you're like, wow, what is this person even thinking?
Well, and if you think about it too, since we were just talking about advertising, books don't get advertised very much.
They don't.
Very few of them actually get advertised, and all of the books that I read, or I have been reading, don't get advertised. Like, I haven't seen advertisements for them. I've pulled them off of like other people's reading lists, stuff like that. So it's just interesting, because that's like information coming to you by way of like, if you want to believe in whatever serendipity, that's not the right word, but I don't know, by some sort of chance, but like, I don't fucking know. That means it's
like, I don't know. I need to light this up.
whenever I have trouble thinking. Sometimes, dude, I just feel like my thoughts start going so fast, and it's just like, oh my God.
I'm right there with you.
And then
sometimes I can't even sleep, where my mind's just fucking going. Like, my body will be sit there rested. Like, I'll be like sleeping, but like my mind's just like, this morning, for instance, I laid there for probably about an hour, where my body was just like restless. Like, it just, well, not restless, but it just laid there. But my mind just raced for like an hour. And then finally I'm like, all right, that's it. I'm getting up. And the terrible thing about it is, after when you do that, you don't remember anything that you just thought about.
yeah.
You're like, what?
That's like that when you're laying there sometimes and you're like half asleep, but you feel like you're dreaming too, but you just have like some really weird, I don't want to say weird, but you just have like crazy thoughts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, your body plays through all these different scenarios in your mind while you're just sitting there, and you feel like you're awake, but you're actually just like you're like half asleep.
Yeah.
It's weird. Last week, there's a girl that I'm friends with on Facebook. She posted a meme about trying to meditate and it being related to anxiety, and it was like me when I try to meditate to get rid of my anxiety, but me just sitting there in my own head makes me more anxious or something like that. And to be honest with you, I think everybody experiences anxiety at a certain point. I'm so happy that I don't have like terrible anxiety. I don't even think I have bad anxiety. I get anxious about situations and shit like that, but I'm never just like, oh my God, I'm so anxious. Like, so all these people started chiming in on her post about meditating and how they can't meditate because they can't quiet their thoughts and shit like that. And after this situation happened, I talked to my sister a little bit about it, and there's like a million. I can't say there's a million. There's like probably at least 5 or 6 different ways to meditate. And a lot of people don't. Like somebody that doesn't know a lot about meditation, and I'm not even a person that knows a lot about meditation. I'd say I know like a teeny little bit.
I know nothing.
But like the biggest thing for me, and this is the advice that I gave in that situation, was that meditation isn't necessarily trying to quiet your mind when your thoughts are going like that. Because that's the thing. There's this disconnect that, and see, even my sister's not a big proponent of what I'm about to say. She feels differently, but depending on your perception of reality and free will, there is this question, which is, where do my thoughts come from? Like, some people think I have all my thoughts, like I generate them. Right now, I'm thinking of the words to say, like I'm actively thinking about what I'm doing. But what about all the other times when you're just sitting there and like shit just pops into your head? Like, where does that come from? Like, nobody really knows the answer to that question.
Like when you have just a random thought for no reason.
Or if you're an anxious person and you have like a million thoughts in your head like that, where are those thoughts coming from? So the key, I think, to a person that has anxiety in meditating is not to try and shut the brain off. It's more like this. If you picture yourself sitting at like the edge of a river, like you are sitting on the bank of the river, and you're just looking at the river. And the river itself is your mind or your thoughts. Because as you sit there on the bank as you, the observer, which is what you are, you see all these thoughts go down the river. And the whole point of meditating in that situation is to realize that space between you sitting on the river and all those thoughts that go by. And if you're an anxious person and you can't control your thoughts, probably the best thing you can do is realize that you can't control those thoughts and you're going to have 1,000 of them. But just because those thoughts are there does not mean that is you or what you're going to do or what you're going to say. Because, and I'm not even good at this. I can explain it in that way. And it's easy for me to explain. It's harder to do. It really is hard to figure out that there is a space between the shit that pops into your head and
what
you
are.
Number one, what the fuck does that mean? Like, who the fuck's the guy in the back that's just sitting there watching shit go by?
And then there's a guy that's chanting to you to do stuff.
Like, what does the dude that's sitting in the back watching shit go by actually do?
Yeah. Yeah, in the book I'm reading, Seller, I'm Not Giving a Fuck, it's touch bases on that. How your thoughts aren't who you are really, because there's people worry about popularity and all that kind of stuff, and or just mere if my grass is greener than my neighbor's or shit like that, and he says that those thoughts don't really necessarily aren't you. It's just you thinking them. Mm-hmm. Like you don't have to act on anything that you think. Mm-hmm. So,
well, it's just weird too, because then it asks the questions or poses the question, where does the thought itself come from? If you're the dude in the back watching things pop up, like which part of your body is it that brings up the thoughts? Which kind of plays into Sam Harris, who is a philosopher, I guess, modern-day philosopher. He's an atheist and a neuroscientist. He's got some interesting things. He's also a very well-known practitioner of meditation. He's wrote a couple books on it, and he's got an app coming out. I'm interested in getting the app. I haven't read his books on meditation, but he doesn't ascribe to free will. Like, and this is where I think a little bit, I don't know, I haven't worked out my thoughts on it yet, but this is what kind of makes a little bit of sense to me at this point. If you're trying to figure out where all those thoughts come from, Sam Harris is a determinist, I think is what they call it, where your biological situation as a whole determines your thoughts. Like, your brain is taking in information from all your different systems in your body, all these things about your environment and stuff like that, and it's giving you that information potentially in like subconscious thoughts,
Feedback.
urges, shit like that, which may be where your thoughts, some of your thoughts start to originate, is in that. I mean, if you're an anxious person, you probably feel uncomfortable in a lot of situations, a lot of environments, or around people. And a lot of your anxious thoughts probably pop up in situations where you're like that. And it might be your body responding to what it thinks to be threats.
Yeah. You think other people are threats, or you could get harmed, or
Not even you, just your body.
yeah.
Somehow your system in your body is like a little bit off. That may or may not make people feel any better, because now they're like, well, how do I fix my hardware?
The only way how I would suggest fixing it would be to do it more often.
Right. And try and put that gap between your thoughts and you, and realize that, this isn't nothing. There isn't anything necessarily to be afraid of in the moment. And please, if you do this, don't put yourself in situations where it's fucking scary at first.
Yeah.
You work yourself up.
Yeah. Small steps, baby steps.
But
Jordan
it's weird.
Peterson, I talked about, I think, in his book. I think it was one of his books. It might have been one of his podcasts. I don't know. I've done so much on Jordan Peterson.
He said a lot of shit, I know.
Yeah. He was talking about how one of his patients was afraid to get in an elevator.
Mm-hmm.
And the way how he convinced the lady to finally be able to ride an elevator is to like slowly subject her to the elevator. Like just look at the elevator.
Yeah, just look at it at first.
Yeah.
We'll watch the doors close.
Yeah. And just slowly subjected her to the elevator.
Like, worked herself up to the point where they actually got in it. But every time she was afraid or whatever, he was like, all right, we can leave. No big deal. We just needed to look at it. Yeah. I will say that Jordan Peterson is also probably Sam Harris's biggest opponent at the moment for the free will discussion and stuff like that. It's an interesting...
I don't know what their positions are on it. What Sam Harris says that we don't have free will?
Sam Harris is the determinist that says that your free will, or the illusion of your free will, is because of all of your systems working together.
What's Jordan Peterson say?
Well, Jordan Peterson is the type of guy that he's obviously the individual is the most important thing. And he spends a lot of his time telling people how to stand up straight and take responsibility for their actions and stuff like that. So Jordan Peterson, I would say, is a very strong proponent for the existence of free will. I don't know. I don't know if that's something he's ever specifically come out and stated, but just from a lot of his conversations and stuff, that's what I think.
I don't know. I got mixed feelings about it.
I understand.
I mean, I feel like there is free will, but then at the same time, there isn't.
And I don't know if necessarily Sam Harris is all the way to the point where there isn't free will. I mean, like I said, he's a dude that meditates a lot, so he's way farther along the path than 99% of people are, as far as figuring out who's in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how he gets to the point where he thinks that there's no free will, or if he thinks there's some combination, I'm not really sure, but I know that guy has spent a lot of time in his own head sitting on that fucking river watching his thoughts go by and trying to figure out who the guy that's watching the thoughts go by is. Like, one of the things I've thought about, I mean, before I even do it, you need to do massive meditation before you even go and do it. But to go do a silent meditation retreat, they have these things where you can go for like 3 days, 5 days, like 7 days, where you just go and it's silent, like you don't talk. I think you talk like maybe once a day or once every other day for a couple minutes to like the person, like the meditation teacher, to kind of, share your experience so far and get a little bit of guidance. But other than that, it's like,
I would love that.
it's totally. You say that, but being stuck in, you know what I mean? Like nothing.
I do it. I prefer sitting in silence. Like people have like you usually have the TV on in the background or whatever as background noise or music playing for background noise. I would rather just not have anything playing and just sit there in silence.
What do you think it is that makes you like that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It could be because of where I work at, where it's just loud all the time.
Maybe, yeah.
And I have to wear earplugs. And
Is this something that you've noticed recently, or is this something that you've been like your whole life?
I don't really know because I as a child I never really noticed it because it was always
You're a kid.
Let's go do
stuff. Yeah. That's interesting to me.
But yeah, my girlfriend doesn't like it too much.
Personally, I enjoy silence, and I also enjoy listening to music. I don't need the TV to be on or anything, but
I do enjoy listening to music. Music, I feel like music's good for the soul.
some of it is definitely.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm not
both ways.
I'm not gonna say that it isn't good for the soul either, but like this last weekend, my mom and I went to a family reunion, and my mom loves Gershwin, which you probably have no idea who Gershwin is, but Gershwin was like like when music started to gain popularity and like people like Beethoven and Bach and like all these fucking, the composers writing these musical pieces for these giant orchestras and not even necessarily having the orchestra play it while they're writing it. They're just writing it and doing all this stuff. There's something crazy about music like that. And Gershwin is probably one of the last. I mean, there are good composers that are still alive these days, but they mostly do like movie soundtracks and shit like that. There's not a lot of people, and I say that out of my lack of
knowledge.
Yeah, exactly, of the situation. But I don't think there's a lot of composers left like that anymore. Gershwin was one of the last composers at he was the early 1900s, like that, and his style was just a little bit different, but. I put on Gershwin while me and my mom were driving because she likes it, and I like Gershwin too. I like a lot of the same things my mom likes, but it's just Gershwin to me is like you listen to it and like it just to me it feels like I'm sitting in a room. Like, have you ever seen The Great Gatsby?
Yeah.
It just feels like I'm sitting in a room and like some beautiful, like mansion. I'm sitting in like a library and there's just like a record on and it's just playing.
Like I should be wearing a tuxedo.
Not even necessarily that. It just, that's music just like transforms where you're at to me. And that's like when I think about it, one day I want to be able to listen to Gershwin in my library at my house with like people go to parties these days and it's all fucking like hip hop and like club music and shit like that, which isn't bad. But at some point in my life, I'm going to have a party at my house and it's going to be fucking Gershwin in the background. And everybody's going to be like, what the hell is this? And I'm like, Gershwin, get
like
you some.
Have like a 1900s
party. Yeah.
1920s or whatever.
With like, your library opens up into your fucking backyard, which is a garden with like beautiful bushes and hedges and flowers and all kinds of shit. Yeah, but that's just, that's what music does to me. And honestly, I sit in silence quite a bit these days. I haven't been listening to music as much, but I still, when I turn it on, it just like, maybe that's part of the reason I haven't been listening to it as much lately is because it takes me places, and I've been trying to fucking like focus and not like
drift off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even remember what we were talking about before that.
The music's good for the soul. I don't remember what we were talking about before music's good for the soul either.
Yeah. Well, with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Like I said, go check out the book, Antifragile. Highly recommended. If you get it on Audible, you can listen to it at like 1.5 times speed, and it cuts the length down significantly. Or if you want the hard paper copy, then, good luck reading your way through that one. I don't know how big it is. I'm guessing it's probably like this thick.
So, I mean, it's 26 hours. So.
Yeah. So, but, yeah, we'll catch you guys next week sometime with another episode with something. We'll figure it out after we get done doing this. We'll figure out what we're going to do next week. And, yeah, we'll get back to you.
Stay toasty.
Known for that homegrown where I come from. Smoke one.
Toast on.
Double D's got 'em topless in the sun. I shall proceed. That's me, motherfuck your opinion. How many ways am I killing them? Shit, right around 1 billion. Hey, we own it. That mean we living for the moment. That means you'll fuck to the morning. Time and I got time and I know that I'm in a position of controlling anything. I buy that ocean. I'm a boss. I buy that ocean. Ain't nobody fucking with me.